we officially have the leaked stats of every single Pokemon that's brand new in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Let's take a look. Alright, so real quick in this video, we're just going to break down every single Pokemon of the game. I'm going to give my overall thoughts on their stats. We're going to throw them up on the screen. And as always, I'm trying to be mindful of kind of copyright issues, so don't expect to see like actual images of the Pokemon, but I'll reference them as we kind of go through it, and we'll use kind of blurry fan art images. So shout outs to all the artists for that. And big shout outs to Roy Dadadoo. I'll have a link in the description below as well to their data comparative Gen 9 decks. It's phenomenal. So let's just dive in. We've got Meowscarada, which is a final evolution of Sprigatito. Some highlights here, it's 123 speed, which is phenomenal. That actually puts it above Greninja, and it does have protein, which we talked about in yesterday's video, that actually got nerfed. So not as good otherwise, but that 110 attack stat is pretty solid. So I definitely anticipate this thing being kind of an offensive physical attacker, and I know it has a signature move as well that's pretty dope. It's an attack that never misses, 70 base power grass move that always lands a critical hit. So that's pretty dope actually. Moving on to Skeledirge, obviously going to be a little bulkier. It's got a really good HP stat, pretty good defense, relatively good special attack at 110 as well. Otherwise, pretty frail on the special side and relatively slow. So what this Pokemon is going to use is probably Assault Vest, generally speaking. Special attacking ghost types, really strong. Fire Ghost, really good combination that can just melt things. I can see this running like Choice Specs and just dealing a lot of damage that way. Just being like max HP, max special attack. Its natural bulk is pretty solid. Its hidden ability is Unaware, which isn't going to really do a ton for it. It's going to prevent opponents from stat boosting on it and setting up on it, which is good, but it's not quite, unless it has like sustain, like recovery and stuff, it may kind of lack in that regard. I think the key with Skeledirge is going to be its new signature move, Torch Song, which actually is kind of like Volcarona's Fiery Dance. It boosts its special attack every time it goes for its attack. It's 80 base power fire move. That's going to be the real key, right? Like just stacking those special attack boosts and kind of burning through your enemies. Then we've got Quackaball, which is water and fighting, which is a pretty good offensive typing. Sitting at 120 base attack and 85 speed. Overall, just like naturally balanced in terms of its kind of other stats. If this thing does get flip turn, I think there's some value there as like a Choice Scarf user, as like a cleaner, especially with Moxie as its ability. Being able to come in, clean something up that's weakened, get that attack boost, and then fire off more attacks is probably going to be the key to using Quackaball effectively. The other thing about it is its signature move, Aqua Step, actually boosts its speed stat. So outside of the Choice Scarf set, you could potentially run something like a Life Orb and just go for that, get the speed boost, and then you have your speed kind of solved. So when it comes to a competitive perspective, my gut is Quackaball probably is going to be the best of the three just because of its signature move. Meowscarada getting those crits doesn't really benefit it as much. Protein's really solid, but with the nerf, it's not as good. I think Quackaball, from a competitive perspective, just at first glance, could actually be the standout because it boosts its speed with its signature move, and it gets Moxie boost if it knocks something out, and that can really snowball really quickly as like a cleaner in the game. From there, we've got Oinkologne. It has a male and a female form, and they actually do have different stats, it seems. Yeah, it seems like they have slightly different stats. So one of them has, I'm not exactly sure which is which. One of them has a higher attack stat, and the other one has like a little bit more bulk. It seems like higher HP. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed. But nonetheless, they do have thick fatness and ability, and they seem to be pure normal. So being able to kind of sponge some of those, fire and ice type moves is pretty solid. Gluttony giving it those, those berries a little faster is cool. Overall, like decent natural bulk. The attack stat's okay. Its speed stat is middling, so I don't expect Oinkologne to make any sort of an impact on the competitive metagame. The Dunsparce, however, getting a pretty big buff to its attack and its HP. Gets some natural defense buff as well, and its speed is pretty middling as well. So I think the Dunsparce is probably going to run the same kind of function as Dunsparce did, where you try to paralyze them with Body Slam or Thunder Wave, and then you try to flinch them with things like Headbutt. So I think Serene Grace on this Pokemon can still be really effective, and that extra bulk is definitely going to be appreciated, especially on the sets that run like Coil Roost. Then we're moving to Spidops, which has the ability Stakeout as its hidden ability. That's actually pretty good, but its stats are really, really bad. Like, I can't believe this Pokemon made it into the game in its current function. It does have a signature move, if I'm not mistaken, which uses a Silken Trap, protecting itself from damage while lowering the speed of any attacker that makes direct contact. So it's kind of like Spiky Shield, but instead of doing damage, it lowers their speed stat. But that's very, very unimpressive. I don't anticipate this Pokemon making any sort of a splash. Low Kicks, on the other hand, sits at 102 base attack with 92 speed, so that's like actually pretty solid. Tinted Lens allows it to hit neutrally, at least, with every attack that it goes for. And Bug Dark's a decent offensive combination. However, it's incredibly frail, and it really doesn't do a whole lot other than that. And 92 base speed really doesn't allow it to stand out with only 102 attack. So I don't think Low Kicks is going to make a huge difference in competitive either. Rabsca, which is the new Bug and Psychic type Pokemon, has Telepathy and Synchronize, so it can kind of work nicely with partners in Telepathy. But it's kind of lacking as well, right? It's got 115 special attack, 100 special defense, so it could function like an Orbeetle where it uses like Calm Mind Stored Power if that's an option. but again, its slow speed stat is probably going to let it down. So to me, it's just like a worse Orbeetle. Houndstone somehow is pure ghost, and it's got 101 base attack, 68 speed. That's important because it does have Sand Rush, so that's a pretty good speed tier to land with Sand Rush if you're doubling your speed stat. Fluffy going to give you that buff, so if you take physical attacks, you're going to reduce the damage of those, but you do have a weakness to fire. I don't think that's a big deal. I think this Pokemon could actually be decent. The thing that's holding it back is its natural bulk is solid, but its attack stat at 101 just is really kind of not at where you want to see it in the metagame. So I think without setup, it's going to be a struggle, but I think having a Sand Rush user that's a ghost type is actually pretty unique, and physical offensive ghost types can really shred through teams. So I could see this on sand teams and singles, utilizing like Choice Band or like offensive items and just trying to break through things. I don't know what its signature move is or if it has like Shadow Bone or anything, but it should have Shadow Bone because it's a dog. But if it does have those kinds of things, maybe you can kind of do some big damage there. But in terms of just stats alone, it's very average, right? Like decent bulk, low HP. Fluffy can give it a lot of physical bulk, which is nice. This is really going to come down to its moveset, like what kind of utility can it use. Espathra is the new Psychic type kind of ostrich Pokemon, and it does have a couple different things going for it. Speed Boost being the big one, right? 105 base speed with Speed Boost, giving it a lot of boost, and then you've got 101 special attack, allowing you to hit relatively hard, right? Like Psychic is the type that you can just spam Psychic and deal a lot of damage. Speed Boost gives you some opportunities there. Maybe there's a world where you run like Substitute, Calm Mind. This thing is super frail, right? So it's going to be very weak to kind of priority moves, Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak, that kind of stuff. But overall, I think that there is a world where it can do decent because of Speed Boost. Farigiraf, one of the Pokemon that I'm most excited about, does land 2 new abilities, Cudchew and Armor Tail. One prevents priority, the other gives it double berry action. It does get a special attack buff, much needed, but the speed drop coming in on Farigiraf is probably what's going to hold it back the most. It drops down to 60 base speed. It does get a massive bulk buff in terms of its HP, and it does get a little bit of attack, but I think that speed drop is going to really hurt Farigiraf from being kind of a standout Pokemon in competitive. Wugtrio to me just doesn't make any sense. It sits at 120 speed and 100 attack, but it loses the big thing that made Dugtrio good, which was Arena Trap. Now it has Gooey, Rattled, Sandveil, none of which are really good. So I think Wugtrio is probably one of the worst Pokemon this generation. The Donzo is kind of the new Pokemon that gets commanded by the little sushi dude, and he's got crazy 150 bulk in terms of HP, really good attack, really good defense, but very slow. So I'm not exactly sure, I'm going to be honest, about how the functionality works with Commander and how you use the Donzo and the little sushi dude, but this Pokemon has like relatively good bulk, pretty specially frail, and very slow, so we might look to see this under Trick Room. Veluza's the new Water Psychic type, much like Bruxish, and it kind of fits along those stats as well. 102 base attack, very frail otherwise, 70 base speed, pretty low. It does have a new ability in Sharpness, but I don't think that's going to allow it to stand out. Without a crazy move pool, I think this Pokemon is just going to land very average in terms of Water type Pokemon. Palafin, the new Dolphin Pokemon, is very interesting and has an ability called Zero to Hero. So when it switches out, it gets a crazy stupid stat buff to 650. For those who don't know, Pseudo Legendaries land at 600 stats, so this thing lands at 160 base attack, one of the strongest attackers in the game, 106 special attack, very good, 100 base speed is very solid, naturally pretty bulky overall, so the only thing awkward about it is you have to set it out and then switch it out, but I don't think it's a big deal. You just lead with it, flip turn it out with like Choice Scarf, and then you come back in with 160 attack beater. Like, that's actually insane. So I look for Palafin to be one of the stronger Pokemon in the metagame, just because you have like a 0 loss, 160 base attack water type Pokemon that can probably just shred through things, and its ability, like, it's pretty easy, it seems, to activate. Arboliva is the new grass and normal olive Pokemon that evolves from Smoliv. It does have a nice 125 special attack, but it's very slow as we would expect, 39 base speed. The thing that works for it though is it does have Seed Sower as a new ability which activates grassy terrain under contact. So you do have that going for you in the sense that you can set up grassy terrain and ultimately boost your attacks, and you're going to be going slower than most things. It's pretty frail though, like 78 HP, 90, 109. That's not enough to really stand out in my opinion. So I think that Arboliva is probably going to fall, unless again it has like a crazy move pool or something. It's just, there's going to be better Trick Room options in my opinion. Scovillain is a really interesting Pokemon, sitting at 108 attack on both sides, and it has 75 base speed, so relatively slow, like middle speed tier. Chlorophyll can boost that under sun conditions, and Moody is really neat, right? Like Moody gets banned in competitive, but Pokemon like Moody can just be absolutely devastating, and it does have a new move that I think is super worth noting here. The user emits an incredible spicy extract, sharply boosting the target's attack stat and harshly lowering the target's defense stat. So if you get a free setup with Scovillain, you're gonna destroy everything, right? Like, you're boosting your attack so high. I think the biggest thing with him is like, how do you manage that 75 base speed? That's gonna be the biggest challenge. So maybe with like Sticky Web support or Tailwind support, there's a world where Scovillain can set up and do a lot of damage. But again, this is a Pokemon that's absurdly frail, so you're gonna get kind of shredded anytime you try to do something like that if your opponent predicts. Belly Bolt, the new little electric Pokemon, does have a cool ability where his you know, electric type moves get powered up if you take damage, and he does have that 45 base speed, which makes a lot of sense. Overall, decently bulky, 109, 91, 83, so not too bad. 103 special attack is solid. Again, this is one of those Pokemon that's really going to need a moveset to shine, but I think it could be like average in terms of competitive. Then we've got Revaroom, the new poison and steel type Pokemon, obviously being very afraid of those ground type moves, but it does have 90 base speed, which is pretty solid. One thing that's interesting is the abilities that I'm seeing here on this doc don't actually indicate for a speed boost, but I'm pretty sure it was told in an interview that it had speed boost. So we'll have to wait and see if that actually comes to fruition. With speed boost, this Pokemon's really solid. Like 119 attack is really good. But the thing is, Poison Steel is a more defensive typing. That's not a typing you want to be an offensive Pokemon for. So when you have 80, 90, 67 as your defense stats, that's just not as good as you want to see. But I do appreciate the unique typing in Poison Steel, so we'll see how it plays out. Earthworm is the new pure steel type Pokemon that has the ability Earth Eater, which means that if it gets hit by a ground type move, it actually heals itself up. That's pretty cool, but its stats remind me much like Onix with a higher attack. 85 attack, 145 defense is really solid for a steel type. Its special defense is obviously very bad, and its speed is super average. So this is a Pokemon that is going to be a physical wall. I think Earth Eater is really good though. Like, you remove one of its core weaknesses, and you can bait out those fire moves for some of these other Pokemon that have really good abilities that stop fire type attacks. So I think Earthworm actually has a place in terms of like a kind of early game like hazard setter if it does get anything outside of Stealth Rock. There's some world like where that's good as just like a pure defensive steel type. Pure steel types are really nice in the context of like they don't have 4x weaknesses and you're removing the ground weakness. So there's a, like I said, there's a world where this thing can do something. Its attack stat is very bad, but that 145 defense is really solid. It's super formidable. Mousehold is the new like little quartet of mice, and its stats are really bad, right? Like 111 speed is the only thing it has going for it with 75. It does have Friend Guard though, so there's a world where like in competitive doubles that this thing could protect allies if it has a really good support move pool like Helping Hand and Fake Out and things like that. Otherwise, you're gonna basically rely on Technician in singles. I think if this thing does have like Fake Out Tail Slap, like it's basically like Chinchino Light, then that could be solid. Like there's a world where this thing is decent. See, Titan is probably one of the Pokemon I'm most excited about in this game. It has a crazy 170 HP stat. It's got 73 base speed, and that's what we were looking for, right? Like, where does C Titan's speed stat land to take advantage of Slush Rush? Now that we know he gets a defense buff in snow, the new weather, that actually is huge, and doubling 73 base speed is really, really good. Like, one of the things that holds Alolan Sandslash back is that steel typing, and the fact that it kind of falls a little bit lower than that, so the double speed oftentimes means you have to run Jolly instead of Adamant. In the context of C-Titan, it has 113 attack, very solid, crazy good HP, and again, a good enough speed stat to take advantage of Slush Rush. So I think there's a world where C-Titan could actually do some serious damage in competitive under the snow setting. Then we've got the new pseudo-legendary Baxcalibur, has the ability Thermal Exchange, which I believe means it can't be hit by burns, and I think if it gets hit by a dragon or a fire move, you actually get an attack boost if you get hit by a fire move. So that's pretty dope. This thing has crazy good stats, right? Like 115 HP, 145 attack, naturally decently bulky, 87 speed. So the speed is what really holds it back here. But I think Dragon Ice is an incredibly powerful offensive typing. Ice is one of the best types out there. Dragon obviously can shred. 145 attack puts it up there basically with Haxorus. This thing could be really good, and if you give it Dragon Dance, I don't know its ability, if it has Dragon Dance, but if it gets Dragon Dance, man, this thing would be nuts. Tatsugiri has 120 special attack, 82 speed, 95 special defense, does have the ability Commander. Still trying to figure out exactly how that plays out. I'm just gonna be honest, like, we're obviously like a week before the game even comes out, so some of these things I just simply don't know. So we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out in terms of the Commander with the Donzo. But overall, just looking at it on its own, 120 special attack is actually really good. So maybe there's a world where this thing with the Donzo, they just shred. Cyclizar is an interesting Pokemon. 121 speed is really good. 95 attack, 85 special attack. Very frail otherwise, but it does have Regenerator, and it does have that signature move where it sets up a substitute and like switches out. So pairing that with Regenerator actually gives it something usable. Like, I could see this being a competitive Pokemon because you're basically allowing yourself a free switch in with its signature move. Pawmot is a new electric fighting type that evolves from Pawmi. It does have Volt Absorb, but I think the real ability here is probably Iron Fist. 115 attack is super good. 105 speed is decent. I can see this thing being kind of a shredding Pokemon that fires off close combats, Mach Punches, things like that to benefit from Iron Fist. Hopefully it gets Plasma Fist as well, and I'm pretty sure it has a signature move that allows you to like fully heal a fainted ally, if I'm not mistaken. That was something that had leaked. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that was one of the things that had leaked kind of way back in the day that there was a Pokemon that could do that. I'm pretty sure it was Pawmot that can. Kilowattrel is the new flying and electric petrol Pokemon, 105 special attack, 125 speed. Very fast, basically Swellow, right? Like, it's a special attacking Swellow. Wind power, super cool, boosting its stats under the context of Tailwind. That could be really nice. And then competitive. So if it's special attack or if its stats get dropped, competitive is going to boost its special attack. So I think there's actually a world where Kilowattrel could be really good as like a double battle partner, where you pair it with a Tailwind user, or you pair it like with, you know, to benefit from competitive to discourage Intimidate. Bombardier is the new Flying and Dark Pokemon with a decent 103 attack stat. Overall, relatively kind of frail on the bulk side. 70, 85, 85 isn't too crazy, and 82 speed is a little bit disappointing. It does have a new ability though, Rocky Payload, which powers up its rock type moves. So I'm not sure what those rock type moves look like. Is it like, you know, Rock Blast, or what is it? I'm not sure, but that could be kind of cool. Otherwise, I don't really see anything here that jumps out to me. Squawk ability, 96 attack, 92 speed with a couple different abilities, right? So like depending on its form, it has different abilities. Intimidate, Hustle, Guts, and then Intimidate, Hustle, Sheer Force. All those abilities are awesome, right? Like Hustle to me is the winner though. Getting a 50% boost on your attack is like massive as long as you don't miss. So this thing could be like a Pokemon kind of like, much like Basculin, where it has a very niche situation where it comes in and it can shred things. Normal flying is not terrible in terms of coverage if you can get a fighting type move in there, but I don't anticipate Squawk ability doing a whole lot. Flamigo, the new flying and fighting type Flamingo Pokemon, 115 attack, 90 speed. That speed does slow it down a little bit. Scrappy's nice though, being able to hit ghost types and things like that without a problem. I don't think this thing stands out from the other fighting types or flying types in the generation though. Klawf does have Regenerator, baby, and Anger Shell, of course, boosting its stats, lowering its defenses when it drops below half. It did land at 75 speed, which is good enough to take advantage of 1 speed boost, and 100 attack, 115 defense is what you kind of expect out of a rock type. So I think Klawf actually could be a standout Pokemon, especially if it does get Shell Smash. Garganacl, the new rock type that evolves from the little salt dude, has 100, 100, 130 defense, 90 special defense, 35 speed. This is a Trick Room Pokemon all day, but Purifying Salt is pretty cool as its new ability, basically making so it can't get hit with static conditions, and it actually reduces the power of ghost type moves. Kind of interesting, but I think it's solid, man. Like, it does lack a little bit on the attack side of things. This is a Pokemon that if it had recovery, I think it would be really strong. Glimmora, the new poison rock type Pokemon with toxic debris setting up toxic spikes. It has 86 speed, which isn't too good, but 130 special attack is very good. So this thing is almost like Nihilego, but maybe better, right? Like Nihilego had the benefit of peaking over 100 on speed, and it had Beast Boost. So it's a little hard to say. Like, ground moves are very common, so you do have to be mindful of that. There's a world where Glimmora, I think, could be decent and competitive. Like, Poison Rock is like a very awkward offensive type combination because Rock is so good, Poison's very middle. But there are some instances where it can be useful. Grafaiai, Poison, and Normal does have Prankster, which is really cool. 110 speed, 95 attack, very frail otherwise. I can see, depending on his moveset, potentially being like a lead with Focus Sash, being able to set some different hazards up if that's its thing. Otherwise, you're going to probably utilize Poison Touch and try to pivot around, poison things with like Poison Jab and stuff. 110 speed is good, but I don't anticipate Grafaiai really being all that crazy unless it has a nuts move pool. Doxbun has Well Baked, which means when it gets hit by a fire type move, it actually boosts its defense, which is already 115. 57 HP though is really, really bad, and its attack stat is 80. So with a 95 speed stat, like, that's solid, but I don't think Doxbun is gonna be very good. For some reason, I don't actually have the stats for my boss diff at this moment, so I can't really comment on that. But I don't really have much to say right now. It's not on the doc. Brambleghast is the new grass and ghost type Pokemon, which has Wind Rider. So it doesn't take any damage from wind moves, and if Tailwind is up, it gets an attack boost, or if it gets hit by a wind move. So that's actually really, really cool. 115 attack is solid, 90 speed is solid. Grass and Ghost isn't bad, right? Like, it's just a move pool dependent, like Power Whip, that kind of stuff. Poltergeist maybe. So I could see that Brambleghast is decent, but its HP stat is 55, so it's very frail. Goldengo is the new Ghost and Steel evolution of Gimmighoul. Ghost and Steel is really cool. We've obviously seen it in Aegislash. 84 base speed is solid. 133 special attack is really good. So this could be a Pokemon that can fire off like Shadow Balls, Flash Cannons, that kind of stuff, and deal a lot of damage. The typing is solid. It's decently bulky, not anything crazy. I think this could be like a choice Scarfer, especially if it gets like pivot options. Then we're kind of moving to the Paradox forms, and these are all insane. Like, they all basically have 570 base stats, so they're really, really strong. Great Tusk Donphan is ground and fighting, which is an incredibly powerful offensive combination with great attack, 131 defense. Pretty slow, like 87 isn't bad though for this Pokemon. Like, this is gonna be a wall breaker, no doubt about it. Like, this is the kind of Pokemon that you bring in and you just shred something down. Brute Bonnet, the new Amoonguss form, grass and dark type, has good attack at 127. Otherwise, its bulk is pretty good, 111, 99, 99, but average speed. This is a Pokemon that grass and dark is like a really tough typing to use though, like so many weaknesses. So I wouldn't hold too much, I wouldn't hold your breath on Brute Bonnet. Sandy Shocks, electric and ground, really interesting typing. 121 special attack is good, 101 speed, also good. in terms of just like creeping above. Electric Ground's like a pretty solid typing too. Like I really like that typing from an offensive perspective. So I can see Sandy Shock's actually being really good. Screamtail is Fairy Psychic, and this is a bulky Pokemon, 115, 99, 115, but it has a 111 speed stat. So if this thing has support moves, it could be really good because it's not going to be an offensive Pokemon with 65, 65. Flutter Mane is basically like Mismagius, but super crazy good, right? Like very physically frail, but very specially crazy. 135 speed with 135 special attack is insane for a Ghost Fairy. Like two absurdly strong special attacking types that are gonna shred things. I think Flutter Mane could be really, really good. Slitherwing Bug Fighting, 81 speed, kind of puts it very similar to Heracross, right? It's basically Heracross, a little bulkier, a little slower, but basically Heracross more or less. Roaring Moon, Dragon Dark, 139 attack is very good. 119 speed is really what allows it to step out. Hydreigon is one of the best like wall breakers in the context of like it has crazy coverage. Roaring Moon, I think, could do the exact same thing. Iron Tread's Donphan sitting at 106 speed, which is insane. 112 attack is solid. 120 defense is good. A little specially frail, but overall 106 is really good. Iron Moth at a 140 special attack is crazy, and 110 speed also super duper good. With Quiver Dance, Iron Moth might be one of the most offensive special attackers in the game. Fire Poison's a little awkward, but I think it can make it work. Fighting Electric, another really, again, we've seen this typing, 154, 140, 108. Very physically bulky and offensive for Iron Hands. Like, this thing is gonna shred, dude. It is gonna shred. Iron Jugglist landing at 122 special attack, 108 speed is decent for Dark Flying. I would say that this is probably one of the more underwhelming Paradox forms, just looking at it from a stat perspective. Iron Thorns, Rock Electric. He switches his 4 times fighting to 4 times ground. Sits at pretty much the same stats as T-Tar, right? Like, loses some special attack, gains a little bit of speed, but it wasn't a positive exchange for T-Tar on Iron Thorns, in my opinion. Iron Bundle with the Globe, 136 speed for Delibird, baby. 124 special attack. Very good physical defense as well. Very frail otherwise. With a move pool, this thing could be insanely good with that special attack stat. Iron Valiant getting basically dual attacking. Like, this is a Pokemon that you would run mixed attack with 116 speed. These are basically megas, right? Like, I think this Pokemon could be really strong. Firing off Fighting and Fairy, really good stats. Then we've got the 4 legendaries, Ting-Lu, Chen-Pao, Wo-Chen, and Chi-Yu. The Dark and Ground has 130 defense, 165 HP is crazy. Very, like, slow, but very, very, like, offensive. So I think that this Pokemon could be utilizing Trick Room really well. Chen-Pao, the kind of Sabertooth, has 135 speed and 130 attack. Very offensive. Ice and Dark, much like Weavile. This is basically like a better Weavile. Like, I'm super excited for Chen-Pao. Wo-Chen is Dark and Grass. Again, kind of a bad typing. Pretty good special defense. Unless this thing is like Gastrodon too, I don't see it really standing out. Like, 70 base speed is kind of awkward. Maybe in VGC, because of its Tablets of Ruin, it can do some work. And then Chen-Yu, the Dark Fire Fish, has 145 special attack and 100 speed. The speed stat's a little disappointing for it, but 145 special attack is no joke, and Dark Fire can shred things too. Koraidon and Miraidon both land at 135 speed, and then they just kind of swap their attacks. So 135 for Koraidon, 135 for Miraidon. These are going to be very good Pokemon. Their abilities are going to benefit them, setting up Sun, setting up a lunch terrain, just firing off massive damage. I think Koraidon and Miraidon are going to be very strong. Tinkaton, one of the most awkward stat lines in the game, has a super cool new move that does so much damage, but it only has 75 attack, so I think this is one of the biggest fails stat-wise, right? Like, it could have been so good, and I feel like it's just very average with its stats. Armor Rogue sitting at 125 special attack, 75 speed. Sarah Ledge sitting at 125 attack and 85 speed. To me, Sarah Ledge is the standout there. Fire Ghost, very, very good. That's a super good typing. On the physical side, 85 speed is really good. I think this Pokemon's going to be super strong. Both of them have weak armor as well, so they're going to boost their speed if they get hit by an attack. Then we've got Toad's Cruel, which is the new Tentacruel form. 100 speed. It basically has the same stats as Tentacruel, so I don't really think this thing's that crazy. Like, Grass Ground is kind of cool. It does have a new ability, but I don't really anticipate this thing doing too much. King Gambit, with Supreme Overlord getting boost based on the amount of knockouts on your team. 135 attack, 100 HP. Gets a nice bulk boost, but it does get its speed dropped down to 50. So I'm curious how that's going to play out, because Dark Steel, like, super good offensively, but very, very bad defensively. Clodsire, the new Quagsire form, basically getting 130 HP. Very, very bulky. Very specially bulky. Not very offensive, though. Like, trade some of the offense that Quagsire had for more bulk and lower speed. I think it's better, though. I think it's a better Quagsire for sure, especially with Poison Point and Water Absorb and Unaware. Great abilities. Annihilate, Fighting, and Ghost with Defiant could be so good. 90 speed is a little disappointing. 115 attack, 110 HP, gets some bulk. I think it's going to be like a really good, like, U-turn Choice Scarf user. Then you've got the Paldean Tauros forms where all land at 100 speed, 110 attack, and then a little bit more physical bulk. So overall, I think they're solid. Like having Intimidate is always nice. Anger Point is kind of cool for memes. You might be able to find a way to like crit them and then get like crazy attack boosts and doubles. There might be some memes that come with Paldean Tauros. Man, oh man, I love talking competitive Pokemon. We just ran through every single Pokemon in the new decks, breaking them all down, my thoughts, the stats, and everything like that at first glance. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Which Pokemon are you most excited to use in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.